Hey everyone, thank you for joining us for our end of year release recap. We're excited to show you a lot of the new features that we've improved upon this year. We are just going to give a couple minutes for people to join on, but we'll get started about 2 after the hour. Thanks. All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. Before we jump into the content, let's talk about a couple of housekeeping notes. Attendees are going to be on mute. If you do have a question you'd like to ask, you can ask that in the questions tab of your GoToWebinar. We will be answering those at the end. And lastly, we are recording the webinar. You will be emailed a copy most likely tomorrow. Let's go ahead and introduce our hosts. We have Scott Teeple and David Clark, and I'll allow them to introduce themselves a little bit further.
Thanks, Joe. As you mentioned, I am the host, Scott Teeple, Director of Customer Success, and very excited to be bringing this webinar to you today. David?
Hey, from sunny California, I am David Clark, VP of Product. Really excited to share with you all the cool features we've built this year.
Yeah, so good morning, good afternoon, all to listening live, and thank you for listening if you are coming on record. Really excited to bring kind of these new features. I know that it's been a little bit of time since you've heard from us, so excited to get into some of the new features and updates we've been really busy over the last couple of months. So without further ado, we'll get right into the major updates for metadata. So if you're a longtime customer of Prodly, you'll know that we've had some metadata types that we supported, but we're really excited to now be able to support all of the metadata types that are coming from Salesforce, which is a really great feature for all those that are wanting to use the metadata. And then also this metadata diff viewer. So if you are familiar with having to find changes within, say, the metadata or your code itself, it's never fun trying to get through an XML or through the text file. So the new feature really brings a real exciting color-coded kind of way of being able to see those changes to really help accelerate your understanding of what code changes. There's nothing worse than having a lack of understanding of maybe where multiple developers had made changes. Maybe you don't understand where some of those features kind of lie. So being a developer is always a good tool to have.
Absolutely. I mean, Scott, all is a big word. Just to clarify, it's 96% of the several hundred types. So let's be clear there. We went from about 40 or 50 to almost all of them. So all the major types you want to use for your project, we support.
That is
and let us know. But more details on our support documents, but just wanted to clarify on that one.
Absolutely. And if there's any questions on those features that we do or we don't support, don't hesitate to reach out to your account management team. We'll definitely help you through all of that. But as the slide says, it says all, so I went with it. So
You rounded it up.
Yeah. And with that, I think it's demo time. You're gonna pop over and show us a little bit of what that looks like.
We've done a lot beyond just supporting new metadata types this year, and so there's just a lot to show. And for those of you watching or on the call who haven't seen this in action, just buckle up. This is a really exciting feature that's going to save you a lot of time. You'll never use change sets again. Let me show you what it looks like. So, we're logged into Prodly. We're just going to go here to our guided deployment. we're going to select a source and a destination org. So I've already connected my environments, I set up my projects, and enabling these features as part of a deployment is really easy. As part of your deployment process, you can enable metadata as part of that deployment. And as Scott had mentioned before, we now support all metadata types, 96% of them. And we have this feature called comparison views, which it filters down from the entire world of all metadata types just to the ones you care about for a particular project to save time loading and save time just reviewing. So in this case, we ship with this one called all major metadata types. It all has all your objects and classes and triggers, all that good stuff. You just go ahead and select that and you click load. And just like a cooking show, we're going to show you the magic of what it looks like before and after. And just like that, we've loaded all the differences between these two environments. So if I wanted to come in here and just to deploy the things I've been working on, it's as easy as coming in here and filtering down by a particular user. I can see what's just in my source environment. I can quickly see the new fields, flows, objects, permission sets that I've been working on, and I can click on those and deploy them. Another great feature of our diff viewer is you can actually click in to any of the metadata components and view the properties of that metadata. So a really great way to quickly find, select, and deploy all of your metadata. So rather than going back into a change set, hunting around for the different types, remembering what you changed, going to a spreadsheet, keeping track of all those components, so much easier now with Prodly. Now that we support all your metadata types. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Scott, to go into some of our new data features.
Why is it not allowing me to click? Change, there we go. Sorry about that. Show my screen. And now we're on to some of our new changes for data, and really where our magic lies is in how we deal with data. So we're really excited to bring some of these new features around version control for data. And what does that mean? So now if you have a repository for source control, we now have the ability to integrate into that source control. And what does that mean? We now have a better way of tracking the changes that are made between what would be in your development environments, whether that's into production, really holding on and understanding the kind of the who made those changes. We would have all of the information stored from past changes. And this is really incredibly important when you think about audit and control. You think about being able to reference when changes happened, who made those changes, and whatnot. So this is kind of like that next evolution of what we would say is control or governance around how you could enhance the knowledge and understanding of where and who those changes are being made.
That's right. I mean, we've been talking to a lot of customers, and we've been hearing from those ID departments. We want a unified way of deploying all of our changes. And as we know, working on the Salesforce platform, metadata isn't all of it. There's a lot of data changes that you need to start tracking, and you want to include data as part of that normal deployment process, using your version control system. And now you can do that with Prodly. So it's a really exciting feature, sort of unifying the entire process. You got metadata and data going through the same rigor and the same, as Scott said, giving you that governance and control. So all those financially impacting changes are backed up, they're versioned, you got auditability. It's great. So very, very exciting.
And then that moves to our data deployment preview. So as you are setting up what would be your deployments, being able to not just do your simulation, but now we have a feature that allows you to now preview. And this actually gives you more information around what is actually going to be impacted, the number of rows that are going to be impacted. So it's a lot more visibility into not just to simulate, but actually getting into to be able to see what's actually going to happen before you actually click that button and kind of commit your changes. So if that gives you some comfort, then this is really a feature that you really want to invest in.
Comfort, Scott. I mean, this isn't about comfort. This is like, have you ever been in a situation where you deployed a bunch of stuff and you're like, oops, I didn't mean to do all that.
It's comfort to know what I'm getting ready to do.
Leaving records, or you're like, oh, where is this one thing I really care about? Well, that's gone, right? Now you have that peace of mind. So it saves you a lot of time, and frankly, it just looks great. So I'm really excited to show you this one.
Yeah, no, this is really good. The other is environment access control. So, you know, we've also heard around, hey, can I get the abilities to remove people's access? Or, hey, based upon my SOC or SOX compliance, I got to have segregation of duties, or I got to be able to identify those individuals that can do that. Well, now you can do that through what we're calling environment access control.
So you're saying you don't want everyone having the ability to deploy to production, Scott? What?
Well, I suppose, again, through your evolution and journey.
All right.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. And we definitely have heard, you know, customers talk about this as a great feature to be able to then start really separating kind of that control. So it's a good one. This one is around our transition to guided deployment UI. So you may have being used our deployment center. That is being deprecated as we are sunsetting that feature. So it's really neat to understand all the great features that are included within the guided deployment. There's a lot more functionality into what you were able to do previously. So keep in mind, and then if you are currently still using that other feature, please reach out to your account management team as we can get you shifted over to the guided deployment UI.
So you longtime Prodly customers, thank you. Thank you for using our old UI. It is now time to move to the new UI. We have a ton of great features. We're going to be showcasing those today. We plan on removing the old UI soon. So migrate over, please.
Absolutely, yeah. I think your dates are coming up here in January. So again, word to the wise, reach out to your account management team, and we'll get you shifted over to the new UI. Scratchworks.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I'll just switch it back.
That's okay. If you want to do a demo.
I was so excited to showcase some of these features. Go ahead.
We're calling it Audible. That's good. So Scratchworks. So this is kind of a new feature that Salesforce has released, and it's the ability to really just throw out kind of a throwaway development environment. It's a really great feature that you don't necessarily, I think you don't pay for. So it's the ability to give your developers the real quick ease, especially if you're in a sprint cycle. So maybe you only need to throw up an environment for say 2 weeks. You pull some data down, you just create these scratch orgs, and it's a really feature that is really nice that Salesforce is offering. So this really great integration that we'd love to showcase for you to really start getting into how you can really start working and become scalable within your development process.
All right, now is the time for demo, Scott.
Now time for demo.
All right, you know me, I just can't wait to demo. So you've done so much work this year, and we're well overdue for showcasing a bunch of these features. The first thing I'm going to showcase is, as Scott mentioned first, version control. And I'm just going to show you really quick how to access the feature, how to set it up, and how to do a deployment. So once again, we're logged into our control environment. I got all my environments connected. And then the way you're going to access version control is you're going to come into settings, and there's a new section for version control settings right here. And if you haven't yet connected or set this up, it'll show you a tile to connect to your repository. Now, for those of you who aren't super familiar with how version control works, you set up like a GitHub or a GitLab or a Microsoft Azure or Bitbucket account, where it's a cloud storage based way of storing all of your data changes, and it uses something called Git. Git is a open source way of sort of tracking all these changes, so that if one or more people are checking things in, you can do merge conflicts and promote things in a way that is really scalable. So you're going to go ahead and set up one of those types of accounts, and then you're going to come in here and authenticate it into Prodly. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to select which objects you want to have versioned. So in the case of, say you're managing a CPQ project, you would go in and you would select your CPQ objects. We can come here and take a quick look at all of the objects that are managed by version control. So what that means is when these are managed, when you do a check-in, it'll actually go ahead and back up or essentially check in all the changes for each of these objects when you're doing a deploy to the system or from the system. So you can come in here and make changes to which objects are being selected. You can also choose any of your custom objects or any other platform objects. We support up to 100 objects at a time in this version control system. Once this is all set up, what it does is it will allow you to now connect your environments to the version control system, and it'll allow you to now save to the branch or deploy from the branch. So let's just say, I've gone in and I have, connected one of my dev sandboxes. I can come in here and now save all the changes that I made from my developer environment. Let's just say I just created a bunch of new bundles, or I've uploaded a bunch of new territories and assignments. I can come into my dev environment, add a commit message, and then save to my branch. So what this is doing is it's for all those objects we just showed you, we're going to go ahead and save that to a branch in your version control system. And then what you would do is you'd log into your GitHub, and then you would merge that branch to, let's say, your production environment, and then you would come back into your environment here, and you would deploy from that branch. So you're doing a little bit of the management within your Git system because you're still managing the branches and the merge conflicts and the versions, but this is allowing you to deploy data to and from that system. So very cool. Also, all of the changes are still tracked in our deployment history. So as you can see here, you can now see all your org-to-org deployments as well as your branch-to-org deployments.
And so it's very auditability, right? Like when you go to audit, right, you have all of that. It's all in one place. You don't have to really search out.
That's right. That's right. You can come in here. I'm just kind of quickly show you. You can click into viewing. It links the branches from Prodly, so you can quickly find those and you can see the detailed results. So the next thing we're going to show you here is a feature around being able to preview your deployment. So we're going to go into our guided deployments, and we're going to go ahead and deploy some data. And for those of you who aren't familiar, this is our automation technology that allows you to quickly move any sort of complex data or even simple data from one environment to another with just a click of a button. And so the way that we do that is we use something called data sets and deployment plans, which are, you can think of them as like recipes for knowing all the fields, all the objects, all the insertion order, and also maps all the global IDs and everything to save you a ton of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to select one of these recipes for moving products. And as we had mentioned earlier, you want to be able to see, okay, what is this actually going to do when I click the deploy button? So we've developed this preview deployment button, which allows you to see how many records are going to be inserted or updated at the time that you're going to be doing this deployment. And we've gotten a lot of great feedback that you guys want even more information as to what's going to get deployed. So we've not only shown you how many rows of data that are going to be updated or inserted new, but as you can see down here at the bottom, we now have a whole new section for showing you the actual details of those records. So for example, I want to make sure that my 5 favorite products get deployed, no problem. The other thing, kind of a secret new feature, is we actually give you the ability now at the row level to select which rows get moved. So even more control over how you're deploying your data and determining what gets updated. Now, the view here is customizable. So if you want to change which fields you can see here, that is configurable. So you guys can change that based on a list view. So we're going to go ahead and just select a few of these things, and we'll get our deployment on the way. So
and just a quick note there, David, right? If you're still using that old UI, this is those features that you're not being able to see. So even more reason to come over to start using the new UI.
That's right. Now, I certainly have a lot of environments that I've been working with here on my projects and in my demo org, and I know most of you are probably familiar with this screen, which It's everybody's favorite development screen where I can see, you know, all my sandboxes, requesting new sandboxes, seeing how many I have available. I don't know if you have sandbox anxiety, but I did before I started using Prodly, which is, do I have the sandbox I need? Do I have the environment I need to work on my project? You know, if you're working in a larger organization, you got a lot of projects going on, maybe you need a full copy sandbox so you have all that production data. Maybe you're trying to update your CPQ environment and you need to have all your product and pricing information available so you make sure you don't regress any of your price rules. Well, you're gonna wanna have these rich environments. So yeah, you could come in here and spin up a new sandbox. It could take you a few hours, sometimes even a day. Maybe you're out of developer or developer pro sandboxes. And you know, nothing's more frustrating than having to either reuse an environment or Slack somebody, hey, can you give me these credentials? Well, that's all gone. We're gonna give you a now sort of a very fast and easy way to create your environments on demand with rich data. I'm gonna show you how to do it, and it's using our new Scratch org creation feature. Now, you're probably thinking, oh yeah, David, I know all about Scratch orgs. I'm a developer, I've been doing this for like 10 years. That's great. You know, this is a feature. It's even easier for you to create Scratch orgs. You don't need to use a command line. You can come in here and click this Scratch org creation button. And in just a few clicks and types, I name the Scratch org. I can add the username. I can determine what is this going to be a copy of, and this is where when we determine what metadata and data to populate into the Scratch org, I can say, hey, I want this to look like my production environment. I want this to last for 30 days because I'm just going to add a couple changes. I want all my production packages installed for me. So think about all the time we're saving here in the Scratch org creation process. You can say, hey, I also want to include all the metadata, you know, that I've been working on, and then I also want to install my data so that I have all of my revenue data in the Scratch org. Wow. So this takes like 3 to 5 minutes, roughly, depends on how many packages and data and metadata, et cetera. But once that's done, it'll just show up here and you're ready to start working on it. So really a great way to get environments on demand for those quick projects and those changes. So really excited to show you all those new data features. So Scott, why don't we talk about some of our integrations that we've been working on?
Yeah. So let me get my screen up here. So this is really exciting as we kind of are now merging into some new space for Prodly, and it's how we're integrating with systems outside of just the Salesforce ecosystem. So like Jira. So you think about workforce management, you now having to understand and how your work is defined, right? Through, if you're using Agile, through your Scrum teams, through your work user stories, or just the management of how work gets done. There really isn't a way before to tie kind of the why to the what, right? So why are we doing these changes to what changes actually occurred? Now creating this integration with Jira gives us the ability to now start seeing, again, through that audit, through that controls, now start seeing not just the user story and why, but then the identification to, hey, what changes actually occurred to be able to pull that together. So giving a full picture again, and it's now kind of all integrated, and it's really nice, and it's a really cool feature that I think most people are going to use.
That's right. I mean, it's as a product manager, sometimes I just want to see what changed. Like, what did you do? What did you do to my thing? This from a user story, like in Jira, I can just go in and click, like, hey, what was developed for this one user story, and you can have that audit history. Documentation is a huge problem. Nobody wants to go back and sort of keep track of everything that was built. Well, now that we're connecting together the, you know, as Scott said, the work management system and the deployment system, you have that paper trail, so you can always go back and say, hey, why was this field developed, or why was this thing here? You can see the user story and get the human readable version of why it was developed.
Yeah, and the record over time, right? So you're now thinking, you know, 2 years from now, like developers have gone, you're like, hey, when did we do this? Why did we do this? It's now going to be all linked together, which is really awesome. So then tagging your deployments inside of Salesforce. So again, but then coming soon is a new integration, which is on the Jira side within the Atlassian suite, where you'll be able to then have that integration to be pushed both ways, which is really exciting. That we'll show you how that works.
That's right. So once again, we're working on making sure then when you're doing deployment, you can tag the Jira work item and see all of that inside Salesforce. And then we're also going the other way, as Scott said. Both things are coming very soon. So.
Yeah. And coming really soon is the DevOps Center integration. So Salesforce is very soon, hopefully going to be announcing that they're going to go GA with their DevOps Center. So having this integration already in place. So if you're taking advantage of what Salesforce does natively, Prodly fits directly into that works the Work Center and DevOps Center to really build how you're going to integrate with that data management natively right with your data deployment. So really excited about how this is going to shape up and work out. So really excited to show you that, along with Agile Accelerator. So again, workforce management, native with what Salesforce gives you, having that integration there to be able to show, again, that end-to-end, the why to the what. So without further ado, I'm going to really dive into these new features. Really
that sounds great. And some people may not be familiar with Agile Accelerator. I mean, I worked at Salesforce as a product manager for a few years, and this is our product management tool we used as a work management tool. And so Salesforce decided to offer it free on the App Exchange for everybody. So if you're a team that is considering using a work management and maybe you don't want to buy Jira, or you just want something that's native to the platform, you can download Agile Accelerator and start using it today for free. And with Prodly, you can use our integration, which basically allows you to link together, just like what you would with Jira, sort of the why, the user stories, and then the deployments themselves. And this pairs really nicely with DevOps Center, because now you have sort of the native work items, then you have the native tools to deploy metadata and data with Prodly. So very exciting stuff, and I'll go ahead and show you some of it. So the first thing we're going to show is from a deployment. Scott, you can see my screen?
Yes.
From a deployment, just like we were showing you before with sort of the data preview, I've come in here and selected a source and a destination environment. And maybe you want to deploy some new products. Well, as part of this, as a developer, you're probably going to know which are the user stories that you are working on. So what we do here is we give you the ability to link one or more user stories. So let's say I'm doing a big deployment and I have a bunch of things that I have finished and I want to sign off on. Well, you can come in here and tag those tickets, and we do a lookup so that we just pull all of those user stories or tickets, tasks, bugs, everything right from Jira. And the reason why this is important is that it gives you the ability to both link out to them. So if you want to double check your work, you can do that. But then once you do click the deploy button, what it does is it stores that lookup from the work item in the deployment results, so that anybody who's reviewing this deployment later, they're going to have that history right from the deployment page. So for example, here's a deployment that is finished. I now have the ability to come in here and view the user story in Jira right from the ticket. We also give you the ability, if you forgot or you want to go back and clean up, you can go to a deployment result and add additional tickets as well. So this gives you that ability to go back and kind of update and audit and track things this way as well. And then what this looks like from the Jira side is once you're inside of a work item, you can now view the deployment results directly from the ticket. So, I can come in here, I'm viewing a user story in Jira, and over here on the panel on the right, what I'm seeing is I can see that there was 2 deployments made, or I should say 2 deployments associated with this ticket. And you can click into the deployments and you can see the deployment name, who submitted it, the different source and destination, and the status. So if you're trying to track, let's say, a bug from its, being fixed in a Scratch org or in a sandbox, and you want to see where we're at in sort of deploying it, I can track that going from sandbox to QA. I can see, oh, it's still stuck in QA. We just need to promote it to production. So you sort of get that visibility into where this work actually is inside of Salesforce. And then we're also adding a feature that gives you the ability to sort of click into the deployment, and then that will bring you back to the deployment result record here, where you're able to see all the changes that were made for that record. So really, really easy to use feature.
That is awesome.
The one last thing I'll show you before we sign off on the demo is just what it looks like inside if you're using the Agile Accelerator tool. So Agile Accelerator, as I mentioned, is that native Salesforce work management. So I'm viewing that same equivalent concept here in Salesforce, a work record, which has assigned to, status, an epic. And then this is where both our DevOps Center integration and our Agile Accelerator integration work, because now we are linking together the DevOps Center work item with the Agile Accelerator work item, and we're managing the environments and the deployments all within Prodly. So a really great way to manage your work if you are not yet doing so. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks, David, for going into the details around the features themselves. I think it's a really exciting time for Prodly and those feature releases. And if you have wondering if you have these features in your product or the entitlements within your contracts, please don't hesitate to reach out to your account management team. We will definitely take you through if there's re-onboarding or you would like to go a little bit deeper into each of those features. The team is ready to go into further retraining or education around these great features. And if you don't know kind of who your team is, you can go to success.prodly.co, or you can reach directly out to David and myself, and we will definitely help you get you in contact with the individuals that you need to. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Joe for any Q&A that has come in through the channel.
Great. Yep, we do have a couple questions, but as a reminder, feel free to write your questions, have a couple minutes to answer as many as we can get to. So you have us here, so feel free to ask your questions. But the first one we have is there anywhere that these release updates are documented?
Yeah, we have them on the help site. So if you go to our help page, just Google Prodly. We have all of our help documentation there. You can find our release notes and all the things that we're changing. We are on agile releases, so we're releasing constant, like every 2 to 3 weeks, and some are minor changes, others are major changes. So check it out, check out our release notes, and we're gonna be doing these webinars more frequently. And then the last thing I'll say really quickly is if you have any ideas or you want to give us feedback, you can actually do so within our app now. So there's a couple ways. Probably the easiest way is just on the left-hand panel, all the way at the bottom. You just click leave a comment, and you can give us some, you can rate us, tell us how much you love us, and any ideas you have around how to improve the product. We're really happy to hear about it.
Awesome, thank you. And then the next question is, what would the benefits of using a Scratch org be over a traditional developer sandbox?
Yeah, there's a few. I'll name them. As you saw on the sandbox page, you may not have any sandboxes available. So creating a Scratch org that you can have for 7 days or 30 days that you just spin up in a few minutes and it goes away, awesome. It's very, very convenient, and it's faster than creating a sandbox. Another reason why is it gives you a lot of control over what actually goes in the sandbox. So if you don't want to have, all the metadata or all the packages, you can just say, here, give me the Scratch org. These are the 3 or 4 things I want, and you're ready to go. And then finally, one of the benefits of using Prodly to do and solve this problem is that data, that rich data, you can just pipe right into that Scratch org. Hey, I want just X data or Y data. We just send it right in when that org is getting created for you. So you have that context, as I say. You don't have to be creating test data, or if you're doing flows or triggers, it's like, it's all there for you. It's all production quality, and it's ready to go.
Great, thank you. That does look like all the questions we have for today. So I do want to thank Scott and David for their time, and thank everyone who attended for your time as well. We're really happy to share with these features. And until next time, thank you very much and hope you have a great day.